and stood over the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of its sheath and killed him and cut off his head with it. Then the Philistines saw that their champion, everyone say champion, was dead. They fled. The men of Israel and Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines as far as the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the slain Philistines lay along the way to Shaaraim, even to Gath and to Ekron. The sons of Israel returned from chasing the Philistines and plundered their camps. Today what I want to ask you is he your champion? Because the story here is of champions. And what we need to understand is the citizens of Israel won, though they never entered into the fight. Selah, I'm going to let this sink in for a little bit. They won, but they didn't fight. They plundered without struggle. Because David was their champion. They lived vicariously. Now everyone say, I'm listening. They lived vicariously through the victory of another. Now David, over and over again, is a prototype, an example, a forerunner of Christ. There's a great many parallels between David and the Messiah, which is why the Messiah is called the Son of. So when we read the story of David, we can see the parallels in David's life to our time and to Christ. Many of us don't know that David had his own tabernacle. In David's time, there were two tabernacles. There was the tabernacle of the law. That was the tabernacle of Moses. That's not the one we read about. They entered his gates with thanksgiving and they entered his courts with praise. That was the tabernacle of David. The tabernacle of the law, you had to enter in a certain way and only certain people could go in. The tabernacle of David was open to whomsoever will. And when you entered it with praise and thanksgiving. No matter what your background was, you didn't have to be a Levite. David lived in a time of law, but lived as though grace already was. So David stands in history as an example of the Messiah. And one of the greatest examples that David gives us of the Messiah was he became the champion of Israel. Israel won and never lifted a sword. Is he your champion? Is he my champion? Let's jump.